Well, let's return to the presidential debate. As I said earlier, it was elder abuse playing out on our TV screens. But let's get a local perspective. Beau Davidson is the host of The Beau Show. He joins me from Florida. Beau, thank you so much for joining us. How would you describe that debate?
Danica, that was a rare, extremely unique moment in not just U.S. television history, but maybe world television history. What we all just witnessed was something truly remarkable that I don't think has happened before. This was an epic meltdown and a blowout, if you want to consider the competition of Trump versus Biden. But what we saw was an epic breakdown and meltdown of an entire campaign and of an entire candidate. What I think is equally troubling is that this is the man that is currently running the United States of America. We're talking about November and what's going to be happening and what candidate we should be choosing. But this is the man we saw tonight that is actually running the United States. And that is entirely problematic. And it should trouble not just those Americans like myself, but it should trouble the world.
You're right. It is extremely problematic. And I've described it as like elder abuse. I mean, this is a man who is clearly sick and unwell, yet wants to go for another round. And this is one of those uncomfortable moments.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Beau, from the moment he opened his mouth, it all went downhill. Would you agree?
I would completely agree. We beat Medicare. No, he needs Medicare. You're 100% right, Danica. This is elder abuse. And what we're seeing is a man who's not competent. He came out right out of the gate. His voice was feeble. They said afterwards he had a cold. I don't even know if I believe that. I think this is just the mental state that he's in. So he came out weak. He fumbled over numbers, trillions versus billions, thousands versus hundreds. He couldn't get his facts straight. He froze. You know, we've been told he's not been freezing in these moments that we've seen lately. What we saw tonight was he absolutely froze. He looked confused. He had a deadpan stare. And in that split screen, we can just see one candidate is competent, ready, agile, prepared. The other candidate doesn't know what he's saying. And I think we know, Danica, that the best line of the night was after Biden spoke, Trump said, I don't know what he said, and I don't think he knows what he said. That's the line of the night, and it encapsulates the entire 90 minutes. You didn't have to have your audio on at all when watching this debate to understand who won it. It's visually so compelling who won it without hearing anything. And I think that the Trump campaign, they're going to run with this. They're going to pounce. They don't have to run a single quote that Donald Trump said tonight, and they can run every single quote that Biden said tonight because he just fumbled over himself the entire time. It was sad.
Yeah, we actually have audio of that moment that you just referred to. This is how that played out.
40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
You know, Beau, these are key issues that are important to Americans, and he was trying to talk about border and immigration, which are vote-driving issues in America, and yet he just couldn't answer.
He has, and that came out right from the get-go. You know, Trump hammered him on the border, on economy, on inflation. Every single category that was presented to him, he crushed him on. And the moments that Biden thought he had a win were moments that backfired on him. And I'll give you an example. He talked about inflation. He said, when I came into office, there was no inflation. Well, yeah, you know why there was no inflation? Because you inherited Trump's economy. And then there was another moment when moderator Jake Tapper said to him, you know, what do you say to black families and the minority population right now? What can you do better? And he said, well, inflation is killing you guys. And Trump, listening to this, immediately pounces on it and said, yeah, Joe, because you caused it. So you see, this just speaks to his mental lack of acuity because he thinks he's making a point for himself, but it actually backfired and he was making a point that Donald Trump could capitalize on very easily.
What should the Democrats do now? They are clearly in damage control. I mean, here was what Kamala Harris said.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish.
Beau, how can she deny what is going on here? Surely they now tap him on the shoulder. Do you think that's what the Democrats will do? How do you see this playing out?
That's a great question. You know, clear contrast, she's 100% right. There couldn't be a clearer contrast to what we saw on stage tonight. One competent, one not. One prepared, one not. Here's the thing. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do because right now they're probably in panic mode. If they stick with him, they are epically stupid. If they try to replace him, I've always thought that Gavin Newsom would be someone who could probably jump in. But if they do that, they're going to look weak. And furthermore, Danica, I don't know how the Democrats can leapfrog over Kamala Harris. The problem with Kamala Harris is she is epically disliked. She's not liked, certainly, among independents and among most Americans. She's not even liked within her own party. So I think that would be a difficult decision to make. What would have to happen is Joe Biden will have to step down and refuse the nomination at the convention. This will all probably play out at convention, and we'll just have to see what happens. If I'm them, I think you got to get rid of Joe Biden. I don't see how he can continue. There will be no September debate. This was so bad, you can't lick your wounds and hope better for the next time. So the question is do they replace him with someone like Gavin Newsom, who's obviously ready to step in? But if you do that, you've now leapfrogged over what's supposed to be the first black female president of the United States, which she will never be. But that's supposed to be the heir apparent to the presidency. So now that this has happened tonight, after what was it, a week of preparation he was supposed to have been doing, I don't know what he was doing during that time, the Democrats are in a bad state. But Danica, this is the more important question, this is an indictment of the Democrat Party that they have allowed this to happen. They knew this all along. Dr. Jill Biden knew this all along. And what we're seeing tonight should not be a surprise to anyone. So I think it's as much of an indictment of the Democratic Party as it is anything else, because they knew this was coming. Trump knew it was coming. He might just not have known it was going to be quite this bad.
And just on that, how do you think Donald Trump would be feeling after this debate?
Well, he's got to be riding a high. I mean, who wouldn't be? But at this point, it's also, I saw what he said at the end, and you know what? It was one of those kind of really interesting moments of heart from Donald Trump you don't always see, when he said, you know what? I really wished you had been a good president, Joe. And that was one of those rare moments I think all of us kind of thought, whoa, this is not Trump's pride and ego talking. Because he said, if you had been a good president, I'd be at home. I'd be in some nice location playing golf right now. But instead, I've got to come back now and run against you because of how poor a job you have done. World leaders disrespect us. Our military is in shambles. Our economy is in shambles. Our middle class is in shambles. Our minorities are in shambles because of you. So what Trump is saying is, I'm taking on this challenge, not because I really want to, but because you did such a bad job. And so I think if you're Trump, you're riding high because this was just complete shellacking. It's a blowout. It's as bad as it can get. But at the same time, I think that last moment of saying, I really was rooting for you in a weird way. I wish you had been good, because then, you know what? A rising tide lifts all boats. Unfortunately, Joe Biden failed. And that means someone else has to come back in and frankly make America great again.
Yeah, that is a really good point. No doubt a complete train wreck for Biden and the Democrats today. Beau Davidson, great to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening.
My pleasure, Danica.